How's that now? Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up or message me if you can hear me. Is that better? Okay, cool. That was weird. Don't know what happened there, but all right, let's share screen again. How's that? That better? Okay, cool. So going on to toothed whales. Yeah, sorry about this week again. Had a bunch of dramas with family and work and yada yada yada. So it just kind of was a cascade, and we're back on track. As usual, I will try to keep you updated weekly regarding scheduling, but it's just juggling cats at the moment. All right, cool. So since we're still on whales, the book of the week is still going to be Two Oceans, but we're going to be talking about toothed whales as opposed to baleen whales. And toothed whales are far more diverse than baleen whales. Remember, toothed whales include dolphins. They're exclusively carnivorous, but the diets vary from species to species. Some are fish eaters, some are clam and bivalve eaters, some are specifically prey on squid, some of them even eat seals and penguins, so there's a lot to cover. And polygamy is very common amongst all species, meaning one male will have many females. He's living the dream. And they apparently have no sense of smell or taste, although this is up for debate because there's been evidence there's preference in terms of fish types. So if there's evidence in terms of fish types, then maybe they actually do have a sense of taste or smell that we don't know about. But all evidence so far points to the fact that they don't actually have the ability to taste. And there are numerous families, and it's a bloody mess. It's an absolute mess. We really don't know where it's going, and we revise it every couple of years because it's so difficult to study these guys because they live in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean. And they're basically a bunch of goths in nature, and they hang out in places where they don't want to be seen. So they're a very difficult group to classify, and we work with what we've got. So things get revised all the time. So let's talk about marine dolphins. Yes, there are marine dolphins. These are not US Marines. These are just dolphins that live in the ocean. Now, dolphins are highly intelligent, highly social predators, and they rely on high-frequency clicks to communicate. So they make those sounds not just because they're happy, they actually make them to communicate. Most species are limited to warmer waters, but not all. Hybridization is extremely common among species, and the only thing that stops them from hybridizing is actually their geographic limitations, and often their adaptations to certain waters. And again, the exact classification of dolphins is challenging. Now, there are around 38 species, give or take. Some people say 25, some people say 45. The common number is about 38 species, and again, this is because of the mess that are dolphins. And the exact number is heavily disputed. Dolphin species are only often geographically isolated, with very little differences between species, and hybridization is very common, as I said. You get hybridization popping up all the time with dolphins. So some of these guys include the long-beaked common dolphin, the most common dolphin in the world. There's about 6 million of them. They're doing pretty well. If you're from KZN, you obviously know the Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin, almost indistinguishable from the Atlantic, but they occur in different sides of the ocean. The iguana dolphin, who can live in freshwater and saltwater, limited to South America. Other examples include the southern right whale dolphin, not related to the southern right whale, but vaguely similar in appearance, so we give them the name. Commerson's dolphin, who in my opinion is easily the most attractive of all the dolphins, with that hard, stark contrast between black and white. The dusky dolphin, who's also really pretty. And we head into some bigger dolphins, like the killer whale. Yes, the killer whale is a dolphin, otherwise known as an orca. There is no difference between an orca and a killer whale. They are the exact same thing. The pygmy killer whale, who is much smaller, only marginally larger than a large man. And the long-finned pilot whale, which were so named pilot whales because of the myth that they were always led into harbors by one individual on the front. And that's been disproven much later in science, but the name's still stuck. Okay, so we're not going to go too much into dolphins because they are a very diverse group and there's a lot of behavior. The studies are still going around, but they are the most populous of all the cetaceans, of all the toothed whales. And remember what I told you, the smaller the predator, the more diverse they are because the more specific their habitat. The larger the animal, the fewer the species. So with dolphins, because they are smaller predators in contrast to the larger whales. They are far more diverse. Now, the name Orca actually derives, as far as we know, from the old word Orcus, which means the underworld, which is a pretty metal name, to be quite honest. And the word Orc, as in Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or whatever, has similar meanings. It means a beast of the underworld, or a demon, or a wild boar, because wild boars were revered in ancient Gaelic and Old English language. Now, the Orkney Islands were originally named because of these aggressive Pictus tribes. Pictus were an offshoot of the Celts, and they had these wild boar totems that they wore on the island, so they were named the Orkney Islands. Even as far back as the Roman statesman Pliny the Elder, dating back about 2,500 years ago, they referred to them as the Orcish Islands. When the Norse settled the islands, when they invaded them around the 800 AD, they assumed that the word Orc was the same as the word Orc in their language, which means seal. So they named it the Seal Islands, and it gradually became the Orkney Islands to the Orkney Islands, and we still have the Orkney Islands today. A little bit of a fun fact, but the word Orc, in terms of orcas, is actually, it's very descriptive for what the animal is. So literally a beast of the underworld, which is very descriptive of a killer whale. Incidentally, there have been no real records of predation by killer whales on humans, but there have been quite a few incidences of killer whales killing humans accidentally. Often in cases of when they're in captivity, there've been many times when orcas have dragged their owners or dragged their trainers to the bottom of the pool and accidentally drowned them or intentionally drowned them. We don't really know because I don't speak Orca. So another incident is the rumor going around that great whites are the apex predators of the oceans. That's nonsense. Killer whales are the apex predators of the oceans. Great whites are basically second place to them. And killer whales often kill great whites just for amusement. And there are far more food sources out there that are available to them and they're able to indulge in, but they like killing great whites because they're tasty and they're a challenge and they like doing it for fun. In fact, as far back as 2017, 2018, there were a pair of killer whale brothers that were harassing great whites around Gans Bay in the Western Cape, not far from Cape Town. And I think over the course of 3 or 4 months, they killed 6 large great whites just for shits and giggles because they were entertaining them. And all they ate was a liver, and they left the rest of the animal aside. They just basically said, well, I'm the biggest and the best, I can do what I want. Killer whales also eat seals and eat penguins, and they are the apex predator of the ocean. They are the top killer. They eat everything except for humans. Great whites kill humans, so we tend to give them this reverence, but in terms of the most badass of all the marine predators, killer whales are leagues ahead of great whites. And this is the killer whale skull. Oh, we've got a question. I love questions. They were here in Plettenberg Bay a few weeks ago, and then in Cape Town, Port and Starboard. Yes, I just saw that actually. I was reading about it earlier today, about Port and Starboard. They've been spotted regularly there. Okay, so this is a killer whale skull, and it looks nothing like their head, as you can see. And we're going to get into some details about that in a second. So what you will notice about that is you notice these homodont teeth. Homodont, remember, it means all the same. They've got no specialized teeth. Unlike most mammals, all mammals, except for marine predators, have heterodont teeth, where they're all specialized. You've got incisors, canines, and you've got premolars and molars. With the marine cetaceans, they tend to have homodont teeth, or they're all the same. And that's specifically because they're adapted to grabbing fish. And they want these sharp, puncturing things. They don't need to chew. They just need to grab them, shred them up like a crocodile, and swallow them. And in many ways, they have this evolutionary convergence with crocodiles, which we'll discuss later. So what is this big gap missing in front of this skull? As you can see over here, is this big piece over here, which is missing. And you don't see it over here. This kind of looks completely different to what a whale skull or what a dolphin skull or dolphin's head looks like. And what it is, we call it melon. And the melon is a bulb of fatty tissue on the forehead of all toothed whales. Baleen whales don't have them. It's used to amplify and direct the echolocation as well as communication. And the melon is on the outside of the skull, giving it a soft rubber-like feeling. So if you actually push on the head, it's soft and squishy, like a deflated rugby ball or soccer ball or whatever ball. So it's not actually hard if you push the skull. It actually compresses quite nicely, unlike mine, which is pretty hard because I'm pretty stubborn. So this over here is the head of a dolphin. And this is actually what the skull of the dolphin looks like. And that over there is what we call the melon. What you'll notice over here, which I love, this is my favorite fact about dolphins. In the blowhole of a dolphin, they have phonics lips, which are called monkey lips. It's the best name ever. Okay. Now the monkey lips are used to make those clicking sounds. I can't speak dolphin, but they make those high-pitched squeals and click sounds, and those are these little bones that knock together inside the blowhole of the dolphin. That's actually what makes those clicks and those squeals and all those ultrasonic sounds. And the melon amplifies those sounds, and because it's this fatty tissue denser than the water around, it amplifies it because sounds travel faster through a solid medium than through a hollow medium. So they spread faster through the water, and how they hear those sounds is coming up next. So they use these to communicate with each other and also use echolocation like that. So they send this sound into the water and they wait for it to hit something and bounce back. Now, because dolphins have no external ears, you can't give a dolphin a wet willy. They actually rely on these fat-filled jawbones to fill up the sound vibrations in the water. So they've got these fatty tissues in their jawbones, and they use those to feel what's actually going on in terms of their echolocation. So they send out this amplification through the melon, and they bounce it off a target, and it bounces back, and their whole base feels it, but they actually use the fatty tissue in their jawbones to absorb it and locate. If it's left or right, they can obviously tell which one's more accurate, and they turn left or right, and they're able to hunt using this echolocation. So the nasal sacs over there, as you can see over there, that's his blowhole. All that is a highly modified nasal cavity. So his nasal cavity used to be in the front of the face, and over millions of years has gradually evolved to be a blowhole at the top, with those monkey lips, best name ever. And you can see over here, it's a fat-filled cavity in the jawbone, and its ears are right down by the jawbone, unlike us, which are right up here. But effectively, they're not far away from the jawbone, and they're internal because they don't want to get full of water. If you ever try to swim with ears full of water, it kind of sucks. And so they're completely internal, but they use those fatty jawbones, or the fatty sacs in their jawbones to actually hear. Now, moving on from dolphins, because we could talk about dolphins for 5 years, we'll try and get through all the families. We talk about the monodonts, and the monodonts are a small family of whales, and they have reduced teeth. In fact, with the narwhal, I'm sure we all know the narwhal, he only has 2 teeth, just 2 total. And the male narwhals have a modified tooth, sometimes with certain individuals, 2 modified teeth. And they're social, but not as social in dolphins. They don't live in these huge pods of 50 to 100 members. They usually live in 10 to 15. And they live in small family groups, and they're limited to the Arctic and North Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Now, they only got 2 species and 2 genera, the narwhal, which looks like this fine pointy fellow over here, and the beluga whale, which a lot of people mistake for a dolphin. Technically, you could dolphin is a whale, so it actually works the other way around. And they're highly intelligent and highly gregarious. The narwhals, even though they look very intimidating, they're completely harmless. And again, they feed on a variety of shellfish and smaller fish species living in the ocean to survive. No threat to humans. So that's actually the skull of a narwhal over here. And you can just see it's 2 teeth. The one tooth is usually quite short, and the other one is extremely long. And they use this for competing with other males. So it's a sexual selection with females. The females choose the males with the nicest tusks, and they also stab the other males and go to war with each other and make life difficult for other males. Now, what's interesting, as I said, that these guys hybridize all the time. And recently they found a skull of an unidentified whale. They had no idea what it was until they actually did some evidence. And they realized it was a hybrid between a beluga whale, on the right over here, and a narwhal. And what was termed the Greenland whale, they thought they had a new species, was actually not a new species. It was just a hybrid between the two. Kind of weird looking, but there we go. So it happens all the time. Hybridizations occur all the time in nature. They're not unnatural. Depending on how closely related the species are, they hybridize all the time. And in fact, remember, this is the reason why we have laws in South Africa, although they make no sense. We have laws in South Africa separating black wildebeest and blue wildebeest for the exact same reason that they can easily hybridize. You can even hybridize buffalo and cattle. That's why they don't want to keep them on the same land usually. So, also the legend of unicorns stems partially from narwhals. Narwhal tusks were often sold by Icelandic whalers in medieval Europe as unicorn horns because they were spiraled. And the common spiral unicorn horn and unicorn drawing still today is still a remnant of this. So you see those wonderful spiral horns, and that's a remnant of the mythology left behind narwhals. So unicorns are such a complex history. Of course, they're not real. There were versions of unicorns existing during the Pleistocene, but those were very primitive rhinos, so they were not unicorns. Okay. So going on to porpoises. Now people often say, what's the bloody difference between a porpoise and a dolphin? In fact, often they just confuse the names, and they're quite different actually. Porpoises are different to dolphins in many ways. They're often solitary or live in small groups. They typically feed in deeper waters than dolphins and do not hunt cooperatively. Dolphins hunt as groups. Porpoises tend to hunt individually or in pairs or in small groups. And porpoises are usually small, far more compact and shorter than dolphins. So some of the differences: dolphins are longer in form, dolphins have conical teeth, and porpoises have flat, spade-like teeth. Dolphins have curved fins, and porpoises have triangular fins. Dolphins also, of course, have elongated faces to varying degrees, while porpoises have rounder faces, more like a conventional whale. So they are distinct. Even though people confuse the names all the time, they are quite different. Now, there are 7 species of porpoise. They are mostly limited to the southern hemisphere, but there are some northern hemisphere ones as well. The finless porpoise, which is this fine fellow over here. Okay. Remember, fins have evolved in certain species, but they're not in all species of whales. The vaquita, which is critically endangered, only limited to the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of California. And the vaquita is down to 20 known individuals. It is only 1.4 meters long and weighs about 50 kilograms. Very small little porpoise. Tiny. I mean, it only comes up to my chest in terms of height. There's about 19 or 20 of these known alive today, and critically endangered due to human hunting. That's the only threat: human hunting. And Doll's porpoise, which is probably the most beautiful of the porpoises over here. Okay, now what you'll notice with a lot of these guys is they have what we call countershading. And marine apex predators typically have 2 contrasting colors: hard white below, a soft white below, and a hard dark gray or black at the top. And you think that wouldn't be a very good camouflage. I mean, it's pretty contrasting. But actually, if you're looking at, as a fish, if you're looking above you, if you're looking at an organism that's swimming above you, and if he's got a pale belly, like this guy over here, you're looking at a pale belly contrasted against a pale skyline. It gives a pretty good camouflage. Conversely, if you're looking at an individual that's got a dark top against a dark water further away from the photic zone, he's also going to be far more camouflaged. In fact, you find the same thing popping up with sharks and with penguins. Penguins have a white underbelly and a dark top. Same with sharks, a dark top and a white underbelly. Because if you're looking up at them, that white underbelly is the first thing you're going to see contrasted against a skyline. And if you're looking down into the deep dark ocean, you're going to see a dark top contrasting against the dark ocean. It's actually a very effective form of camouflage. So river dolphins are one of the most underappreciated dolphins in the world, and I think they're a bit of an evolutionary dead end, to be quite honest. And I don't think they'll survive the next century because of humans, yay us. And genetically, they are the most related to hippos, not dolphins. That's a typo on my behalf. Genetically, they're the closest living relatives of hippos. And compared to marine dolphins, they have actually pretty damn poor eyesight. In fact, in many species, you could almost consider them blind. And they rely on their hearing, on their echolocation, not the hearing through the ears, but their echolocation through their jaws instead. And river dolphins are highly adapted to living in murky river waters. I'm sure we've all seen pink dolphins, but only a small percent, only about 2 to 5% of river dolphins are actually pink. And it's hypothesized, and remember, hypothesized means that we have a theory without enough evidence. We haven't tested it. That the pink skin is collective scar tissue. In fact, of all the individuals that managed to retrieve dead for whatever reason, what they've noticed with all the pink individuals, they are covered in scar tissue from bite marks from other males, because river dolphins are actually far more confrontational than marine dolphins, and they're covered in bite marks all over their body. And I think it's actually that scar tissue that gives them that pink hue to their body. What you notice about their faces are much more elongated as well, and they've got those highly specialized homodont teeth. You'll notice that you'll find that there's actually two groups of freshwater dolphins. The one of the Ganges River dolphins, there's one species with two subspecies. The two subspecies are almost indistinguishable, but they live on upper and lower levels of the Ganges River. The one is the Susu, and the other is the Bulan, otherwise known as the South Asian river dolphin, but I prefer the native names, they're far cooler. Now, what's really interesting is that in 2013, on the 20th of May, India's Ministry of Environment and Forest declares all river dolphins non-human persons. So they gave them human rights. They're prohibited from being killed or being kept in captivity. So they are declared as non-human persons by the Indian government, which is pretty interesting. Now, also you get the South American river dolphins, which are, again, are very difficult to be apart. The Uruguayan and the Amazonian river dolphins are almost indistinguishable, but the Bolivian river dolphin has a very small fin and a much more petite snout. So he's quite easy to idea compared to the other two. But these two guys over here are quite challenging. I couldn't find any photos of individuals that were grey because everyone likes to photograph the pink individuals. But yeah, they're not all pink. Remember, only 2 or 5% are pink. Most are greyish, bluish in colour. And they're each highly specialised for living in river environments. So what you'll notice compared to normal dolphins, they have these very elongated snouts. And that's, again, a case of evolutionary convergence with riverine crocodiles, fish specialist crocodiles. Many of the crocodile species have these very elongated snouts, highly specialized for snapping and grabbing and intercepting fish in rivers. And they act like tweezers, rather than having this big broad snout, which is for pressure, for power, ripping up animals. I mean, mammals and things walking on land. These guys are rather act like tweezers and snapping fish out of the water. So having these proboscis-like mouths are far more effective for that than this hard, heavy snapping. Now, dolphins are highly, highly intelligent, and they have what's called a vom economo-neurons. And they're only found in hominids. Hominids are humans, chimpanzees, orangutans, and gorillas. They're also known as spiral neurons. And these neurons are associated with high-level consciousness and are used for in advanced concepts like tool usage. Dolphins use tools. In fact, many times we've seen that dolphins use sticks to scrub themselves, or pieces of coral to scrub themselves if they've got an itch. They also wrap their snout in a sponge in order so they can actually dig through the gravel around coral reefs and actually not scratch themselves. They have highly complex social behavior, including groups of young males forming gangs. They trade sex for food. They take drugs like humans. They're highly intelligent, and they have theory of mind. Now, theory of mind is when you are able to think what another person is thinking. If you are able to say, I think that you're thinking this, that is theory of mind. And they've shown that dolphins have theory of mind. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans have it, and there's some evidence that elephants have this as well. But most animals do not have theory of mind. Okay, they're not able to think what you are thinking truly. And the ability to empathize is having theory of mind. Now, dolphins take drugs. It's a very common occurrence that dolphins will actually take pufferfish, harass them, and get them to exude toxins. And they get half these toxins. They literally pass them around like a joint. So they'll swim in circles, bite this pufferfish for ages, not killing it, knowing that they don't want to kill it. They just want to get this thing irritated, get it to exude the toxins, and they have this hallucinogenic effect. They get as high as a kite, and they have a great time. It's more commonly observed with younger dolphins and older dolphins, very similar to humans in that respect. And they just love getting high. So obviously the correlation. Chimpanzees also get high as well, as do a lot of primates. We'll talk about that when we get to primates. Now, this is something a lot of people don't know about. Females do not have any noticeable mammary glands. The mammary glands are pretty much all internal. And if you've ever seen a dolphin, they don't have lips. They've just got a bill or a beak or whatever you want to call it. And as such, the females actually squirt milk into the open mouths of calves using muscular contraction. So they just squirt this cloud of milk into the water, and the dolphins, the calves actually drink this in. And their milk can be up to 45% fat, so extremely nutritious. Now, okay, moving on from dolphins, we're going to do sperm whales. Now, sperm whales are, iconic. Everyone loves them. I think they're the most baddest looking of all the whales, far more intimidating. And of course, they're the legend for Moby Dick. Now, there's two families, dwarf sperm males and sperm whales. The dwarf sperm whale is broken into the dwarf and the pygmy. The pygmy is only slightly larger than a large male human. The dwarf sperm whale is about 3 meters long. The sperm whale, by contrast, is really, really, really big. Depending on the individual, anything 15 to 20 meters. Now, sperm whales are highly specialized at eating marine invertebrates. So they predominantly live off giant squid, greater squid, a lot of the other jellyfish living in the ocean, but the giant squid seems to be their predominant diet. And judging by the fact that we can never seem to find giant squid in any sort of regular occurrence, owes to the fact that how deep they dive. In fact, sperm whales dive regularly to depths of 2,300 meters. That's 2.3 kilometers below the ocean. And because they eat a lot of these really, really strange things, they produce this waxy substance in their digestive tract called ambergris. Ambergris is a waxy substance produced by all the weird gelatinous organisms that they eat. And it's extremely valuable. Now, ambergris is a waxy substance produced in the digestive tract of sperm whales, and it's defecated, not vomited. Everyone says, oh, it's whale vomit. It's not vomit, it's whale shit, to be quite honest. Everyone says, oh, it's whale vomit, sperm whale vomit is the most expensive thing in the world. It's nonsense, it's actually sperm whale poop, to be honest. 1 pound is worth $63,000 US. And it's used as a fixative in perfumes. When it's fresh, it smells like decomposing feces, but as it starts to dry out in the sun, it gets this wonderful, earthy, it's just apparently a very nice smell. It's a nice, earthy, very, how would you describe, musky smell. And it's used as a fixative in perfumes. It's like a very waxy, crumbly substance. Of course, Moby Dick, which was written in 1851, was the legend of an albino sperm whale. Sperm whales do not attack ships, even though they look very intimidating with those teeth. But yeah, famous story, an iconic American piece of folklore. Okay, moving on to beaked whales. Now, beaked whales are something a lot of people don't know about. They're very misunderstood. They're a poorly understood group of animals, and this is due to the fact that they usually spend their time deep underwater. Only 3 to 4 of the 22 known species, there may be more, have been properly studied. Beaked whales are the deepest diving species on the planet. The deepest recorded was 2,900 meters and 92 meters. That's nearly 3 kilometers below the waterline. And they were under that for 137 minutes. That's more than 2 hours, 3 kilometers below sea level. That is incredible. I mean, wow. So, and again, they're highly specialized predators. So they only have 2, when some species, 4 teeth. As such, they actually suck up their prey like a straw rather than grabbing them. So they use this like sucking mechanism to grab jellyfish and crustaceans and whatever they can find, and fish species as well. So they're highly adapted. The teeth are more for competition with other males and also for impressing females. They don't really have any real function. South Africa, we have beaked whales, but you're never going to see them, so I wouldn't get too excited. And again, they look rudimentally similar to dolphins. The 2 most well-known beaked whales, which we don't get, are barge beaked whale, vaguely similar to a dolphin, and the goose beaked whale. So that is all about our toothed whales for the evening. Apologies for the shortened lecture. I have really worked to schedule. But if you guys want to ask any questions, we've got 10 minutes. We are welcome to go ahead and you guys can ask questions. So if you want to share or ask or tell stories about whales, I do love whales. You guys are welcome to put on your microphones and go ahead. Anything else? Yes.
I have one question. I didn't listen to everything because I'm chopping vegetables at the same time. But when you mentioned the river dolphins, where are they in South Africa?
No, South America. South America.
So we don't have them in...
No.
We don't have them in South Africa.
No, we don't have any freshwater dolphins in Southern Africa or anywhere in Africa. The only freshwater dolphins are in South America, in various rivers, in Uruguay, Bolivia, and the Amazon, as well as the Ganges.
Okay.
So there's only 2 groups. There was the Chinese river dolphin, but it's been extinct as far as we know since 2006. It may well still be alive, but as far as we know, since 2006, the Chinese river dolphin is now extinct.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yay, China.
So the pink dolphin then in the Amazon, that's a river, of course, that's a river dolphin. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
okay, thank you.
Only 2 to 5% of them are pink. The rest are actually gray, but the pink ones, of course, are the really pretty ones. So those are the ones people take photos of. So you always see pink dolphins in photos, but they're not actually always pink.
Okay.
So yeah, fun fact. And again, they're the closest relatives of hippos. Living relatives. Other questions? There's Suzanne over there. Anyone else? We've got like 5 minutes left, guys. I'm feeling awkward here. Ask questions. We're not going to do Q&A tonight. We're going to do Q&A tomorrow night. So I'll send out an invite to everybody. Hopefully people will join. Yeah, I said, apologies for my schedule. It's just there's a million things going on, and I'm trying to just do this in my free time. So I'm glad that you guys stick around. I really appreciate the diehards. It gives me a reason to get up in the morning, apart from my work.
Can I say something else? If no one is saying, I watched on Wednesday my octopus teacher.
Okay.
I don't know if you have already talked about the movie, but I wanted to find out if you like the movie as much as I did and what you think about it.
I have not seen it. I barely watch TV. I do need to watch it because people have told me I need to watch it, so we will do it. We haven't even got into invertebrates yet. So, yeah, Addie's just telling me I need to watch it. I will watch it as and when I get to watching TV. I work from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. most nights, and then I'm trying to squeeze you guys in as well. So, yeah, so I'll make sure I get a chance to watch it. I'm busy. My current little project is actually learning about the geology of South Africa. That's my new little thing. I'm obsessed with geology, so it's kind of boring, but it's interesting. So that's where I'm going at the moment, but I'll make time for octopuses as well because they're super cool.
It was beautiful.
Oh, I must watch it, yeah. Anything else, guys? Questions, sharing, caring, any fun, wonderful stories? I mean, I've been diving with dolphins before. I've seen whales in the wild as well. You know, for me, it's people. I think of the fact that whales are so mysterious is why they appeal to us. You know, and there's a lot of ground. And this was really just a crash course into basic whales. You know, to make people realize how many whales there were. Obviously, I would like to go more in detail in the future, but we're trying to get through all the mammals, and it's a staggering number of species to get through. So, I mean, I think people don't realize that there are 38 species of dolphin. I mean, people don't realize that. People don't realize how, you know, the differences between baleen whales and toothed whales, and that actually toothed whales are, you know, hunt completely differently to baleen whales. And this is just basics. I mean, you cannot possibly learn 10 years worth of knowledge in 40 minutes. So it's just really a crash course. So I apologize if I didn't cover all the ground. If you guys have a Q&A tomorrow, I would appreciate you pitch up for it and rock up and we can ask questions and share stories. Yeah, but anything else, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. Nothing? Susanna's just hanging out with me. We're watching video to video. It's pretty cool. All right, cool.
Are we the only one left?
We're the only ones. Well, no, there's 6 of us. It was a very quiet night. I know I stuffed up completely with the scheduling this week, but this week was just hell for me. I had fencing repairs, volunteers to manage. I'm busy compiling a school program for the volunteer academy over here. I'm busy working on a workbook. I'm writing my book still. I'm working every day, like nonstop. And I literally put this together like in a couple of hours. It was like 2.5 hours of work, just get it done from my own knowledge and just what I could dredge out of my books and whatever I could get off the internet. So I do apologize that I'm yes, Shane, I am full-time at Tula now as well. So I'm holding down a full-time job and trying to juggle some other stuff. So I'm trying to be as organized as possible with my severe ADD. Yeah, but thank you so much. I love you guys joining the party. Whoever's here, even if there's 2 of us, I just really appreciate this. I love the fact.
And did you get all the reference you needed?
Yeah, as I said, I'm not too happy with this one's world class, but I work with what I had. I've got poor internet and I've got limited time, so I work with what I've got. But hopefully I would like to do a more comprehensive whale course and just on whales. I want to spend probably 3 classes just on elephants. So we're probably going to do about over 2 hours on elephants, just elephants, because there's so much.
Oh, that's not.
But we've got to
No,
get.
my question. Sorry.
Hmm?
Sorry. I only wanted to find out if you got all your references you wanted from us.
Oh, no. I
participants.
got from some people, and that's fine. I understand people are busy, so I'm not too phased. If people haven't sent their references, I know people are just got shit to do. It's like me. I'm trying to juggle a schedule. I can't expect everyone to march to my drum. But yeah, next week we're starting with the Perissodactylans, which are horses and whales and their cousins. I'm sorry, horses and rhinos and their cousins. I've got whales on the brain. So we're starting with we'll start with horses, because horses are far more diverse than people realize, and we're going to go into rhinos after that and give people some understanding of all the rhino species that have gone extinct and how there's just like a handful left. Rhinos used to be as diverse as antelope, and now they're not, thanks to mostly humans, because they're pretty easy to kill.
Wow.
So we're talking about the Filipino rhino, the Chinese rhino, the North American rhino, the European rhinos, all those things that have gone extinct, and recently as well. So we're going to do that next week, Perissodactylans. Hopefully we'll have more people subscribing. Yeah, thanks guys. Auf Wiedersehen, adios, arrivederci, bon voyage, ciao, assalamu alaikum, all the usual stuff. Zaiji and sayonara.
Oh.
Thank you guys.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Really appreciate. Auf Wiedersehen. There we go. Yeah. Cool guys. See you soon. Thanks so much for popping in. That was really fast. Okay. Cheerio. Bye bye.